In front of the assembled press, President Trump signed an executive order imposing new sanctions against Iran. The order is meant to limit access to financial resources for Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, and his associates.
We will continue to increase pressure on Tehran until the regime abandons its dangerous activities and aspirations, including the pursuit of nuclear weapons, increased enrichment of uranium, development of ballistic missiles, engagement in and support for terrorism, fueling of foreign conflicts, and belligerent acts directed against the United States and its allies.
The reason given for the additional sanctions? A U.S. drone shot down by Iran. Tehran says the rationale was fabricated. The U.S. government also accuses Iranian Revolutionary Guards of attacking merchant ships in the Strait of Hormuz. According to the U.S., more than 80% of the Iranian economy is already affected by sanctions. The Trump administration wants to force the leadership in Tehran to agree to a new nuclear agreement with tougher conditions. Trump also reiterated an offer for new negotiations. He claims Iran could become a peaceful and prosperous country if it were to abandon its pursuit of nuclear weapons.
Well, the standoff between the United States and Iran was addressed at the UN Security Council last night. The Council called for maximum restraint, while the U.S. urged Iran to negotiate with Washington. Germany's ambassador warned of the risk of tensions escalating further.
France, Germany and the United Kingdom are gravely concerned by the increased tensions in the Gulf that were further heightened after the downing of the U.S. drone by Iran on the 20th of June. These developments risk miscalculation and conflict. We call for de-escalation and dialogue with full respect for international rules.
So Germany appealing for dialogue there at the UN, but Iran's UN ambassador said the atmosphere was not right for dialogue to happen between Tehran and Washington.
You cannot start a dialogue with somebody who is threatening you, who is intimidating you. Today, we just witnessed that the United States imposed another set of sanctions against Iran. How can we start a dialogue with somebody whose primary preoccupation is to put more sanctions on Iran? So the atmosphere of such a dialogue is not ready yet.
It's the U.S., of course, imposing those sanctions. U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton said Washington, nonetheless, was willing to enter into talks with Iran.
As I indicated on Sunday, Mr. Prime Minister, President Trump yesterday imposed significant new sanctions on Iran's supreme leader and other top leadership individuals and entities. At the same time, the President has held the door open to real negotiations to completely and verifiably eliminate Iran's nuclear weapons program, its pursuit of ballistic missile delivery systems, its support for international terrorism, and its other malign behavior worldwide. All that Iran needs to do is to walk through that open door.
U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton there. Well, he made those comments at a meeting in Jerusalem with his counterparts from Israel and Russia. Iran is set to feature prominently on the agenda for the talks between those representatives today. For more, let's cross over live to our correspondent in Jerusalem, Tanya Kramer. Tanya, what can we expect from these talks in Jerusalem?
Well, as you said, it's kind of an unprecedented meeting between the three national security advisors from Israel, from Russia, and from the US. And Prime Minister Netanyahu has said that he will do everything to prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons, but also from entrenching itself in neighboring Syria. So we're expecting these talks mainly to talk about the Iranian influence in the region, of course, about the latest tensions as well between the US and Iran, and of course about Iran's role in Syria, which is very much of concern to Israel. Also for Prime Minister Netanyahu, it is very important to give a message to the region that he is part of those talks, that he's a partner for these talks among these two big nations, Russia and the US.
Now, Israel sees Iran as a threat, the U.S. increasingly so as well, but Russia is somewhere else. Do you see any prospect in these talks of Russia aligning itself with the positions of Israel and the U.S. concerning Iran?
Well, from a point of view from Israel, Russia is a very important player, especially when it comes to Syria. Russia is close to Iran, but also close to the Assad regime. So there has been very close cooperation between Russia and Israel when it comes to carrying out airstrikes on behalf of from the Israelis on military targets in Syria. There's coordination going on with that, but on the other hand, it's also a very ambivalent role, as you said. So the question here in these talks is how far is Russia prepared to go, and what they will actually ask in return when it comes to containing Iran and its entrenchment in Syria. And this is really the most important question here also for the Israelis.
Tanya, thank you very much for that. DW's correspondent Tanya Kramer in Jerusalem.